Monsieur le Président, après le discours de mon cher ami, l'honorable Ramaneux, allons revenir aux choses plus sérieuses, la motion of no confidence. Je ne vais pas dévoiler devant la Chambre, Monsieur le Président, mon ami l'honorable Ramaneux le sait, qui était parti voir le docteur Navin Ramgoolam avant les élections pour avoir une investiture au sein du Parti Travailliste. Anyway, Monsieur le Président de la Chambre, la mauvaise gestion de l'économie, la fraude et la corruption et une dégradation de nos valeurs démocratiques. These are the three main reasons that government is being taken to task today. Je vais commencer avec l'économie. Pour combien de temps? For how long are they going to continue using the war and the pandemic as excuses, Mr. the President, to shroud their economic failures, when the blunt truth, Monsieur le Président, is that the statistics and the economic indicators, si vous regardez les indicateurs économiques, vous allez voir, since 2015, the statistics prove them wrong. The indicators show that GDP growth, Mr. the Speaker, has been on the declining trend prior to COVID. When we left power en 2014, le national debt was at 237 milliards, 61.5% of GDP. Today, it has more than doubled, Mr. the President, to 419 milliards, above 100% of GDP. Sri Lanka's debt is at 104% of GDP. So we are moving towards that direction, Mr. the President. If you look at the audit report, the leader of opposition mentioned it the other day. Would you imagine that last year we spent 37%, 110 milliards of our expenditure, not your health, not on education, but on payment of debt. 37% de notre expenditure on payment of debt. And what is more alarming is that 46.8%, 137 milliards of our revenue came from not growth, not production, it came from borrowings. À peu près 50% de notre revenu l'année dernière est venu sur borrowings. We have been having twin deficits. Both trade deficits, nous importons plus que nous exportons, and budget deficits, nous dépensons plus que notre revenu. Similar to Sri Lanka, and this since prior to the pandemic, the rupee has started depreciating, not now, depuis 2015, prior to COVID. And we have been depleting our foreign reserves. Pas maintenant. Avant 2019, you will remember we borrowed 18 milliards from the BOM en 2019, avant la pandémie. And Mr. Speaker, whilst we are desperately using the crisis as an excuse, economies like the Maldives, the Seychelles are up and running. Mr. Speaker, sir, earnings on tourism in Seychelles have surpassed pre-pandemic level according to the latest IMF report. 1,3 million de touristes have visited Maldives en 2021. Et à Maurice, on a eu 300 000 touristes en 2020 et 180 000 en 2021. They also, Maldives and Seychelles, they have been affected by COVID. They have been affected by the war. But they are standing strong against the crisis, whilst we are making false excuses. And the truth, Mr. the Speaker, sir, is that because of their mismanagement, even before the crisis, we were already seeing the cracks in the economic landscape. And The World Bank report of April 2021, through the eye of a perfect storm, bears testimony of the economic mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm going to quote one paragraph. The shocks of 2020 came at a time when serious structural cracks were beginning to appear in the foundation of Mauritius' long-term growth model. Even prior to COVID-19 and other events of 2020, Mauritius was on an increasing fragile development trajectory. So today it is more than obvious that we are seeing the effects of years of mismanagement of the economy by this government, Mr. the Speaker, sir. And in the meantime, alors que le gouvernement crie au loup, despite COVID, despite the war, le gouvernement prend un malin plaisir to squeeze the middle class to the limit with taxes, TVA, contribution sociale généralisée, contravention pour non-port de masque and other contributions afin de renflouer la caisse de l'État. Monsieur le Président, la classe moyenne aujourd'hui est devenue une vache à lait de l'État. Let me just give one example. The price structure for Mogas, l'essence, Monsieur le Président. Sur l'essence, en 2015, they increased the subsidy on Build Mauritius Fund from 1 rupee to 4 rupees, which they later amalgamated with excise duty. The contribution for subsidies on gas, flour, and rice. And they talk as if, they say they are maintaining the subsidies as if the money comes from their pocket. But they have increased it from 1,50 rupee to 4 rupee 20 per litre. They introduced 1 rupee per litre for COVID Solidarity Fund. They introduced 2 rupees per litre for vaccines. They introduced a new levy for construction of storage facilities. And the VAT, which was 6 rupees per litre in 2014, is now bringing 9 rupees per litre to government. Monsieur le Président, this is how this government has been fleecing the population behind their back. Let me come to la corruption et les scandales, Monsieur le Président. The other day, Honorable Ganu was saying that he hopes that people will understand the rise in the fares of public transport. Mais ce que le public n'arrive pas à comprendre, comment leur demander de faire des sacrifices alors que vous, les membres du gouvernement, continuez à dilapider les fonds publics sans aucun scrupule? And they are good at it. Let me just give a few examples. Dubai Expo, 43.9 millions of taxpayers' money spent in Dubai without any assurance of any return on investment. The dismantling of BAI has cost taxpayers 22 milliards. The political vendetta in the Betamax case, 6 milliards of taxpayers' money. Purchase of pharmaceutical products by STC under the emergency procurement, 1.4 milliards. Purchase of Molnupiravir, 80 millions of public money. Safe City project, 19 milliards. Cameras are still not working. Code d'eau initial cost, 2 milliards, ended up costing 5.8 milliards to taxpayers. Out of 80 milliards earmarked for MIC Limited, 45 milliards have been dispersed to different entities. In total opacity, we cannot ask questions about the 45 milliards, even though it involves public money. And as regards scandal, I'm going to finish on this. Not my speech, but on year in, year out, Mr. the Speaker, sir, you will notice. Dans chaque finance bill, le GRA Act has been amended repeatedly afin de protéger et d'augmenter l'emprise d'un seul bookmaker en particulier sur l'organisation des courses à Maurice. Et la population sait de qui je parle. Aujourd'hui, ce bookmaker a des athlètes partout à travers l'île pour inciter nos jeunes à devenir des zougadaires. Et la loi a été amendée pour que le bookmaker paye qu'un simple trade fee aux collectivités locales. Par contre, les autres bookmakers, eux, payent des millions pour leurs licences chaque année. Et ils ne peuvent pas opérer en dehors du champ de base. Et aujourd'hui, ce qui se passe à la MTC, c'est un exemple concret de ce qu'on qualifie de state capture, Mr. the Speaker. Sir. Et pourtant, en 2015, il osait dire que le Parti Travailliste avait encouragé une culture de nation zougadaire. Today, we are seeing the crude reality of this government. Ça, besoin d'une classe pour faire comment je fais là. Anyway, the list of scandals is long, Mr. the Speaker, sir. And I prefer to keep some for my intervention during the budget. Let me come to la démocratie. La démocratie à Maurice aujourd'hui, Monsieur le Président. On a parlé du renvoi des élections municipales, sans oublier les amendements apportés au IB Act afin de bâillonner nos radios privées. But then the restriction under the COVID regulations are being maintained intentionally to prevent political gatherings. Allons dire la vérité. Allez voir le jugement de la plus haute cour de l'Inde, delivered last Monday, which says that restrictions should be proportionate to the sanitary conditions prevailing in the country. When all countries are removing restrictions, here, with 15 cases, they are restricting the fundamental rights of citizens. What are they scared of? Attention que les gens se manifestent dans les rues. Don't worry, they will not manifest in the streets, but they will surely manifest in the voting booth on election day, Mr. the President. There is a general perception that our institutions are at the beck and call of government. I will just take two examples, la police et la MBC. La police today are very alert when it comes to arresting and detaining citizens for insult against ministers, for uttering the word, I won't use the word, GOPIA, as if you're saying, Allez, de bouffon, and you're detained. One night in the police cell. But, Mr. the Speaker, sir, the murderer of Kisnan is still at large. Les drug traffickers of the 95 kilograms of cocaine secured at the port is still unknown. The suspects in the case of importation of drugs in the gas cylinders are yet to be tried and convicted. And the other day, I heard the Honorable Prime Minister saying que les trafiquants se sont enrichis pendant que, dans les temps du Parti Travailliste, we have, Mr. the Honorable Prime Minister, we have never heard of la drogue synthétique prior to 2015. Just go and see how synthetic drugs are now destroying the youth of our country. Et la MBC today, la MBC est devenue une honte nationale. La censure du message de Noël du cardinal Piat and the disciplinary committee instituted against the journalist Manisha Juti for not taking the interview of a government member are but a few examples of the level of indecency. I will conclude on this. Now, since last week, a new political program is being aired every Thursday on Best FM in Bhojpuri, Mr. the Speaker, sir. Very good initiative. But you know what, Mr. the Speaker, sir? Only government members are invited. Yesterday, Mr. Honorable Vikas Chedi was invited. Pour faire les louanges du gouvernement exprès. Et exprès, ça a été fait exprès en Bhojpuri afin d'anesthésier une certaine section de la population. If MBC wants to be fair, call Honorable Ganga Prasad He speaks Bhojpuri better than you, and he's going to tell you the truth about this government. Let me tell. I'll finish on this. Let me tell them.
I've already given you 2 more minutes.
Let me finish with this.
And you're repeating too much repetition. So the floor is to the next orator, who is